design guidelines. That's probably, your update is probably,
Just a quick update, the consultants have been working very hard, and they've been working with the neighbors. Neighbors done a great job of getting comments back from the neighbors. They've done their own outreach. Eric was coordinating it and did a fantastic job. And passing it on to the consultants. Consultants have put together a very detailed outline of the project, and we are moving forward. We're on schedule, so I think it should be looking good. And we have one neighbor here tonight, so good. But they're very pleased with the way it's going, and it looks good to me as well. So I think we'll be good. So we'll be back in June, so we'll see at that point. So.
and they're on track to get the draft by the end of May.
Yes. Yep.
And then, have you scheduled any training, or is it premature yet with the inspectors so they understand?
I've talked to the head of the department, and we've met with them once, and we will go ahead and meet with them again. And she thought it was a good idea to do quarterly updates and kind of training with them. So we're going to wait until we actually have the design guidance in place, and then we'll go through them with them. So
Okay, perfect.
also, I think I told you last time I met with them, we got great comments from them as well in terms of what they saw as the needs, the issues they'd faced, and what they'd like direction on. So that was very helpful too. So we worked that into the outline of the design guidelines.
Oh, the inspectors. Oh, good. Any thoughts or comments on that? So that's all on track. Great. The identification of the designation of the historic structures with HLI.
We do have a draft letter, and they would like some comments on the letter as well as, and I think we included that in the packet. I think you've got that. Your handout's in front of you. So we've got a couple things in here. Should have. Yeah, you've got the list of designated landmarks, what we have currently. We've updated that with the addition of Jose's, which came in this last month. So, which is fantastic. The new owners, Bristol Cone Construction, and they're very interested in looking at the tax credits as well as the grant program. So I think they'll be coming forward with the grant as well this time.
Who's the new owners?
It's Bristol Cone Construction. They're going to have their office there, as well as they want to have a restaurant or bar as part of it as well. So currently the design is to split it 50-50 in front, so it ends up being two storefronts. One would be their office and one would be a restaurant. So it's looking.
Are they going to do anything to the front?
Yeah, major change to the front, yeah. And so.
Happy to vote on that.
Yeah, we've sent that out, and that will be a COA that will be coming next month to you guys.
Okay.
And we've sent out for initial comments from our on staff, on whatever, our consultant that we work with on that, our consulting architect, historic preservation architect. So that's good. So we should be getting comments back from him by the end of the week. And
What's its historic name?
the Culp block, and it was part of that larger block, so it included, it was like an early shopping center. It was 4 different storefronts originally. And we've got some fairly decent photographs of what it looked like, and they've got 3 alternatives in the design guidelines. You can go with very traditional, recreating what was there. They can do a contemporary interpretation of that as long as it's consistent with it, or they can go to completely contemporary as long as it's consistent with the sense of Main Street and the design guidelines. So they've got 3 alternatives of how they're doing it. Currently, they're looking at contemporary interpretation. So it has the elements of it, but it still has some contemporary elements to it too. So the middle alternative is what they're looking at. So.
How old's the existing storefront, the one that the stucco
I
storefront?
think I've seen dates on that. I think they went in there when there was a family bar in '55, I think it was, and then I think Jose took over in the early '60s, so maybe '66. I think it's what, 65, 66. They did the storefront.
More than 40 years.
Yeah. So it could be historic. I know. They could retain what's there, but yeah. But the period.
Stop asking the questions.
But it's not within the period of significance.
God
Luckily.
next month, right?
Luckily, the period of significance is a little older than that, so I think we're okay. So you got that, and then you also have the list of historically and architectural interesting properties. We need an acronym. What is that? HAPE, I guess. HAPE. Oh, if we do that. It's a long name. So, and we did make some changes to that last time, so that's, and Paul is moving ahead with looking at his Arapahoe Hills neighborhood too, so I'm getting an idea of that.
And it's in creation of that list, is the historic name what kind of drives that? Because I've noticed a number of other buildings that aren't on this list that really look like they should be good candidates for that, but
Then-
for one reason or another, they don't have historical significance because of the ownership or who
Well, I
live
think,
there?
but again, if you guys think there are other structures out there, we need to add them to this list. So identify them, bring them forward, bring them to the meeting, and we'll put them on, because this is really a very informal list.
Okay.
And there were criteria when they put together the list of merit, but I think at this point, it's much more informal than it was then, so it really is open. And there are some really important buildings I think are not on here, so. And I think we'll see more of that when we get into the surveying for Littleton Boulevard, so it'll be good. And then the last thing is a draft letter that you guys worked on and Sonia has taken to the HLI board. They made one comment, they thought one thing should be dropped, and so I've dropped that here, and just to simplify it a little bit. And then they thought it'd be good if we added a list of commonly asked questions. So they started that, I've added a little bit to it, but they thought that the board would be, it might be helpful if the board would go through that list. It's the second page in there. See if there are other things that you think should be added to the commonly asked questions in terms of, what do it mean if I'm a historic landmark? What's the downside and the upside of that? I think so.
We maybe want to add some advantages. What is the advantage of being,
Yes.
Well, and that's in the brochure too, what the advantages are.
and is it the brochure going to go with them?
It does say, it
Yes.
says right here, to that end, we
Okay.
hope you will receive the enclosed brochure.
I think it wouldn't hurt to ask it here too, and then we can reference the brochure.
Yeah.
I would think because I know we've seen it, that I would be asking, however, we would ask, if I was asking a question, how hard would it be for me to make changes to the outside of my building? Because that would be my biggest question.
And then are you going to put answers on there too?
Yes.
Or something like, what's the process to
Right.
go through?
Good.
To make changes.
I have a question that other recipients of the letter might have. Does this affect the landscaping in any way?
Great. And it does not, so. We're doing something a little different with the Loudoun Design Guidance. We're going to talk a little bit about landscaping, a little bit about the sidewalks and the curb cuts and all those things. We don't really have any authority that, so it becomes part of the guidelines are really more voluntary, and the rest of it may be a little more obligatory. Anything else people think of in terms of questions? You can send them, if you think of them later, you can send them to me too. So.
I would just make a change to the third question, number 3, what happens when I resell? I would just say what happens when I sell.
Okay, good. Yeah, good.
And the word return should probably be refund in
Yes.
number 4.
Yep, thank you. And I figured more about 8%, but HLI thought 9, so.
The
good.
parentheses aren't going to remain, are they?
No. Well, that'll be an answer, I think, in terms of experience. And we'll figure that out.
And number 5, it said, what will happen to my insurance bill? More as, will my insurance bill
Rise or.
lower, or, yeah,
Change.
would actually-
or how
It
will my
impact- yeah.
insurance
Instead of refund, I'd
be
actually use benefit,
impacted? Yeah.
wouldn't you? It's not necessarily a refund, it's a credit.
Credit, that's true.
Right.
Yeah.
What amount of tax credit?
Oh, for the
Tax
tax?
credit or,
Tax
yeah,
credit,
benefit.
Dennis?
Well, I think they're talking about, we do a refund as well. So we refund the portion of their property taxes that go to the city.
Oh, okay.
So I think that
Apply the city
you have to
refund.
apply for it. You
Yeah.
sure do. Yeah.
And how do I apply, maybe?
And yeah, it's good. Good point.
Is refund.
Yeah, we're in the process of doing that now. We sent out a letter about a month ago and are getting refund requests at this point, so, which is good.
You have one, what's the benefit of historic designation?
Yeah, I think we added, yeah, what are the advantages? Yeah, exactly, yeah. And I thought we'd refer, yeah,
Number
or just
6
repeat it.
Or number 7 is sort of redundant, you know, what will the city need to review? What will the city not? Well, obviously, if it needs to review this, it doesn't need to review the other things.
Yeah, okay, good. Well, I think, I actually added that one myself, and the reason I was thinking about that was because it's kind of what Kim was asking, I think. It might be good to go through and just list things. We don't review the landscaping, we don't review the interior, we don't review, so just have bullets on that. Does that seem to make sense? Okay.
Even if they did. Well, we were just discussing that maybe the format, you could do a, sort of a columns, you know, 2 columns. And
okay.
maybe one would be, what were you thinking, based on?
I was more on the do's
And
or
the don'ts,
what they need
what they
to and what they
do
don't
and
need
don't
to,
need to.
kind of thing to
Oh, okay.
lay it out. Because I agree with you, whatever they need to. And obviously, you don't need to also answer what they don't need to, but if someone new
Good.
has no idea, it's
Right.
kind of helpful for them to say, okay, my
And then you
exterior,
could just
yes.
ask the question, then put yes or no next to it or something.
Sure.
Just But
You
the
bet.
only
Yeah.
reason I thought he was right is because then when I look at it, I can quickly scan it.
Right.
Whereas
Yeah.
if I look at this, I'd get overwhelmed by it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or you could put the Q question.
And then
Answer
the
entered
answer,
or
right,
something.
right.
Okay. Okay. And if you think of other things, like I said, just email me or call me and we'll get them in here. It's great.
Should we give you feedback in the letter?
Sure, absolutely, you bet. They didn't change either Gail as the contact or Charlie as the signator, so I'm assuming that those are both okay.
I think in the 3rd paragraph, where it says members of HLI will be happy, how about are happy? You know, so to make it a little bit more active instead of a passive.
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of happy.
Yeah.
There's a lot of happy.
Yeah, so you kind of want to.
Pleased.
Paragraph. Members of HLI,
Can assist you?
yeah,
Yeah,
will assist your can assist.
yeah.
I like using pleased instead of happy anyway, formal
Yeah,
writing,
will
but
be- Dennis,
will be pleased. Or is pleased. Keep it active.
So what's the part where I guess I don't understand the sentence where it says, you know, if you are interested in receiving more information, you know, from Gail Keeley. Then it says Gail can connect you with other board members and city staff. Nowhere and anywhere above that did I ever ask about that or bring that up. So who am I contacting? So I don't quite know why do I need to talk to board members and I don't know that yet. So it just seems to be in there, but I don't know what any of that means. I mean, I know, but I mean,
Right.
if
but
I'm.
take out the sentences, Gail can
Yeah.
communicate with other board members and staff.
Staff, right.
Yeah.
I just take it out, it doesn't, and then whenever you call and talk to her about this, then she'll begin to just lead you where you need to go, but right now, I don't know I even need to do any of that.
Okay.
And for the last paragraph, HLI board members and city staff can work with you instead of happy.
Yeah.
So the president is still the one? I
So this
think
goes back to HLI, and with the board's suggestions for changes and suggested questions and answers, and then it's theirs.
And then, can we find out when they plan? to send it
Yeah,
out?
I will ask, okay?
And they might want to mail them in batches, just in case,
Okay.
instead of all at once.
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden Gail could get,
All these calls.
yeah, it might be good to kind of see, and if 10 or 20 don't elicit very many calls, then do another 10. Okay, so you'll get us the,
Yep. Great.
anything else on this list? People volunteering to be main points of contact. So those people that signed up to, those people that signed up, they need to know when the letters go out.
Right,
So can you
We'll
let
find
us
out.
all know?
sure, absolutely.
Because then everybody would want to follow up after that. Since it's a study session, can we ask?
Yes, I think as long as you initiate it, I think we're okay. So.
Sonia, we just went through, as you're getting settled, we went through the letter
Okay,
and the questions, and we have a few updates, and then I think we're done.
okay,
And then when you are ready to mail out, if you let Dennis know, he'll let the rest of us know, because some people have assignments and need to know who to call, when to call.
okay.
And the other thought we had, instead of sending them out all at once and having Gail be very overwhelmed, just in
Well,
case.
that could be, okay. Space them out a little bit, might be.
Yeah, maybe do them in batches, that was the suggestion. Okay. All right, so anything else with that?
No, that's it.
And I did let you know that Gail said it was okay to use her phone number.
Oh, good, yes, you did.
And we're still using the president to sign the letter? That's,
What?
are you still using the president, Charles Carroll, to sign the letter?
Well, we have an election this week, so we have to
Okay,
Oh, so that may be
Great.
change.
okay,
change.
cool.
Okay. Is there anything else you wanted to add? I know you didn't hear us talking, but we can give you changes. Is there anything you want
I don't think so.
to add? Okay, thank you
We'll
so
have
much.
to
Okay.
see how it goes.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens. Just an overview of the brochure, the grant program.
Right.
Now we've got the final.
Right, we've got the final, it's gone out, the deadline is the end of this month for applications to come in, and we've got at least I know that the folks who bought Jose's are interested in applying, and the Masonic Lodge is applying. Beyond that, I haven't heard from people yet, but we should be fairly soon, so. Because they should be coming in for pre-submittal if they do want to apply, just in terms of, talk about what they want to do.
And next will be an official meeting, and we'll go ahead and
That's correct.
discuss.
Yeah, so next meeting, we will have both the COA for Jose's as well as grant review, the first phase of grant review, at which the applicants have to have a representative at the meeting. And then you'll make your decision in July, the July meeting, and they don't need a representative at that meeting. So
And
we'll meet in there next time.
Kimberly, I don't know if you know, but when we have those meetings where the public comes, we meet next door.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you can walk in and go, did I get the wrong night? Okay. Okay, just I guess an update on the historic building survey for the Littleton Corridor.
Yeah, I brought something just to hand out too. I think most of you have probably seen this, but this is an article that came out when we got the CPI designation as one of the most threatened sites in the state. And it was kind of interesting, and there is a great video that goes along with it too, that's on the CPI site. And when we have our meeting with the neighbors, we will actually show that video, which is kind of a good introduction to what's going on in Littleton Boulevard. Most of them know, but I think it helps everybody kind of. The buildings look more impressive sometimes on the video than they do in person, but I think that's good Yeah, because they really kind of pointed out how good they are. I also brought along, I think most of you have seen this, maybe I didn't bring it. Mike and I, when we were doing this, put together an extensive list that, oh, there it is, of all the buildings along the corridor, and we went off the corridor a little bit when we saw some buildings, but we went through and kind of identified which we thought needed what type of survey, and if there had been work done in an earlier survey. So it's, I think, great information. We included that in the application for the grant, and we had the RFQ is out now. Those are due back at the end of the month as well, and we did an RFQ just because the RFP, we kind of know what we want. We don't really need a proposal on it, and it's much easier to get consultants to do RFQs than RFPs. They're much easier to do, and they give us the information we really need for this, where you go through and just look at the qualifications. Have they done other projects like this? And so we'll be looking at those the first week in June, probably is what we'll be looking at. So, and we'll ask Pam or Dan to be there if you're here. So to be on that review committee when we look at what applications we've got and who is going to be the best consultant to work with.
Okay.
Then they can get started. So.
And when will that be, what's the timing on that?
It's going to take about a year. When we talked to consultants before who do this kind of work, they said with that many properties, with that much detail, it's going to take about a year to do it. So we're expecting it'll be done, late spring, early summer next year.
When do you select the consultants?
First week in June.
Okay.
Okay.
Have you had some feedback?
Yeah, had some feedback. We've had one consultant particularly who knows the area very well, has done a lot of work in Littleton, and so it would be a great match if that's who we get applying for it. So that'd be good. And there are others out there. So we've sent it to, I think, 15 different firms. So it's good.
A lot of work, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's good.
Okay, so anything else with Littleton Boulevard Quarter? Okay. So now it's kind of talking about, those are kind of the updates, some projects that we're working on. And this is on the work plan. And I thought maybe we could combine the tour that you and, is it you and Michael went on? Who went on the Avada tour?
Oh, well, we both went, but I ended up leaving early. Did you do a walking tour? It was snowy and rainy that day.
I did a little bit of it, but
It was really
most
bad.
everybody fled.
Yeah,
But it was a great seminar.
it was really
we
interesting.
Well,
were
so
there.
maybe you can talk about that and what you learned and how we might do the walking tours for us, or is
Well, they
that-
didn't,
We'll do it in better weather.
yeah,
Number one.
snowed and rained.
What we learned is, don't do it in the snow.
Should we talk about that?
Yeah,
now?
yeah, we
Okay.
are. The walking
Well,
tours.
Sharon and I both attended. It was up at the, what's called
Church?
the Miracle Church was up in
Yeah, it was the oldest church in.
oldest church in Arvada, the old Methodist church up in Arvada. And the morning was dedicated to basically transportation in a historical context. So they talked about the rail lines that connected Arvada to Denver and how rail then went to Leiden, for the coal industry back in the day, and how important it was to connect Denver with Arvada that way before roads were really even in place. It then morphed into a really interesting discussion by a guy named Norrie Winter out of Boulder. And he talked a lot about the setting up design guidelines for various cities. I mean, he talked a little bit about Houston too, where they don't really have any zoning, and how what an interesting challenge it was for the people of Houston and his company, Winter and Associates, to kind of come up with design guidelines for historic areas and historic structures there. That firm has worked all over the country. I think they've done 150 different localities.
Including our design guidelines for the historic structures. So,
Yeah,
so-
and just a really interesting group of people that work up there. And then we did a little bit of walking through Arvada, and the interesting thing that kind of struck me about it was how they've blended newer structures in and among the older structures. They've got kind of a barrier like we do with Santa Fe. Theirs is a rail line on the south side of town, where I think they call it Grandview Street. that goes across, and the rail comes through, and it's heavy rail and light rail eventually will be coming through there, I think. But north of that is the old downtown. Theirs is a little bit wider. Theirs is more like four blocks wide, and where ours is maybe 2 plus. And but there have been a lot of structures that were probably historic that have been torn down, but replaced by structures which look a lot like. I mean, they're very much in keeping with what you would hope you would see in that kind of downtown, darker brick, darker glass, low level, maybe two stories high. And I looked at them in context with our downtown and thought, you know what, we've really got something pretty superior here. I was more impressed coming back to Littleton and looking at our downtown than I was with Arvada.
Well,
But it's very interesting the way that they blended the old and new.
Well, and they had said that they kind of got a little tear it down happy for a while there in Arvada. And so there were people, the residents jumped in and said, you're tearing too much down, this needs to stop. And so now they're building this gold rail. It's a
Gold line.
train, gold line. And it's from Arvada to the other.
Union Station.
Union Station.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because they showed you their plan of what it was going to be like. So like their train station is going to have the history of Arvada implanted in the columns and things so that people can see the history of Arvada, something similar to what we were hoping to see here in Littleton. And they've been working on that for years, which we didn't realize that they were even doing this in Arvada. So I found that to be interesting. What I really liked the most, it wasn't really, because the walking tour, they were like, well, we can go to some house and, go over there because it's so bad weather. More so for me, it was just a great way to bring other historical boards together to get to realize, there were people from Erie and, of course, Golden, and, but it was nice to have the people come together, and then they told you what was going on in their cities. And so I thought that was I really liked that aspect of it, because besides us, I don't know who else has a historical, besides Denver, who has a historical society. And so I thought they always, this is Jefferson County, so we couldn't be involved in that. Never know, though, one day Arapahoe County might decide to do something and similar to where you hold this event and talk about the history of the place. And theirs was on transportation, so they showed us the dirt roads. Then it started out how the old Wadsworth was, Grandview was the first street, and you really got to get a feel for Arvada, making you appreciate Arvada more. So making you realize why the history is important, because they tore too much of it down, and they're trying to save as much of it as they can now. So
That happened in Savannah. They were tearing too much down parking lots, and they said, what are we making parking lots for?
well,
There's
in
no
our
buildings.
and Arvada said they have the same problem as we do with parking. They have an issue too, and they're trying to fix that problem. So they're trying to come up with ideas whether they actually enforce their parking laws, which they weren't enforcing them at all, or do they try to, give time limits on parking? They're just trying to figure out what they can do with their parking issues.
They also have four downtown type districts, like we have our historic Main Street district. They have about 4 of those in or around downtown, all with slightly differing guidelines. So it's kind of interesting to negotiate all that.
Good information. So how do we leverage, do we want to do walking tours? I mean, is it for us to do, or is it an HLI thing?
It's probably more HLI.
It is, although it goes back to, the charge for the board is to do education and outreach. So it's a little open as to what it is. And I think it's certainly something the board could take on if you're interested.
Well, we have the script.
Right.
Because you guys have already done it. So do we want to take that on? The key will be not only to do it, if you guys are still willing, to either do it yourselves or train some of us, is promoting it. That's the ticket.
Right.
Well, and with Arvada doing the tour, realize it was all historical people. It was all historical board members that were coming to the tour. So it's a lot different than when you're just talking residents. of the place. There weren't any residents there. So it's a little different. We were doing it more just to give that an outreach type of thing. Now you would say, it's a, for them, for it being education, it really was about, here's what we're doing in our city for historical.
Could we hook on to something like the scavenger hunt?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I tried that last year and they said no.
Oh, really?
Oh.
Okay.
I think
If
it would
it-
not be that good that day, or it would be.
That's what they said, no.
We did do these tours for a number of years and just kind of petered out on it, I guess. Had the script and
How
so
were
forth.
they,
Well,
did people
we
come?
set during May and during historical month, we'd offer, take a weekend. I think was the main time. I think we did some others initially, but we got people out to do it, yeah.
I mean, did you have people come? A lot of people come?
Yeah,
How did you promote it? Do you remember?
I don't really remember, I guess through the paper and flyers
Bulletin.
maybe, I'm not,
I mean, I think if we could get a schedule, we could promote it when we have the booths at Western Welcome Week and also at the block party, yeah. So we could hand out, here are the dates for the walking tours.
Littleton Report too, Dennis?
Little report, we could do it.
little
Absolutely. You bet.
report we use too, I know,
Yeah.
for, you know.
I mean, it's not hard to do the tours with the script being written. You basically read it and then add your own thing to, like Dan was good at adding all the architectural parts of it, so the architects here could do that. Others that know more about the history of Littleton, you just add to it. The script is certainly long enough, probably longer than, people are wanting to hear. So you
That
can
was part
cut-
of it, to keep it.
So you can
not
cut,
too
paste
long.
what you like and, tailor it to your own style.
So do we want to do this? And if we do, we want to do it, what's a date and a time? And then
Well, you have to, in order to get your date, you have to call the city of Littleton and you have to find out and make sure they don't have anything else going on. And that was my problem. I had a really hard time finding a weekend that was open. And it seemed like every weekend I came up, nope, sorry, got this, nope, we got this, nope, we can't. It was just one thing after another, it seemed. So finally, we ended up in September and squeezed in between two other events going on. So it just didn't, it's not as easy as just us coming up with the dates because everyone else has something else they want to do. So it could be like the art walk or the craft show, or it could be anything, and you're not going to get the ability to, do
Well, I'm
that.
wondering about combining with something else, though.
Yeah, it gets
Right.
more synergy.
Yeah, but you can't
First
combine it with
Fridays.
block party because you'd never be able to talk.
No.
It's too loud.
Yeah.
Couldn't do it with Weston Welcome
No.
Week, it's too loud. Unless you did it during Weston Welcome Week on a other day, during the week or something, and just listed it in there. You could do it then, if we could get people that want to get off work.
I think
to
one time we did
give
make
the
it part of
tours.
Western Welcome Week and had it in the brochure, and you have to do that way in advance, but
That might even be too late to get in there now.
Well, I don't think so. I mean,
No?
because Western Welcome Week is August,
August.
right? Yeah.
yeah, but I think the middle of March or so, they
Oh, really? They
do their
finalize?
brochure.
Oh,
I
okay.
can find that out, or
Okay.
you can
Maybe
probably
do
more
it,
easily,
yeah.
but
I mean, it may be something that
Next
we don't
year.
do it this year, but we
Yeah.
start to develop it so that, this year that we did it, it was just a dry run and let's see what happens. But maybe we can get a few of us together to develop it more and make it really something. And then we have plenty of time to, advertise it or put it in with Western Welcome Week. I think going with Western Welcome Week during the week sometime would be the best time.
But I think there are lots of opportunities to go on other walking tours too, that, around the metro area that it would be great in terms of.
Yeah, Castle Rock has one.
They has one.
That's
and
a
then
good idea.
And Doors Open Denver, there are a lot of
Yep.
walking tours of historic areas and some non-historic areas, but still walking tours, which I think might give us a lot of information
I
about what
actually
works and doesn't.
know someone, he runs the Byers Evans Museum, and he does walking tours of Denver.
Uh-huh.
And I could actually talk with him a little bit more, and so maybe we spend this year, learning and, creating it a little bit more, and if anybody in the HLI wants to join in, to do the tours too, we could do that as well. I mean, obviously, you can only have so many tours in a day, 3, I'd say, is about the most you can have, because you don't have enough time to spread out otherwise.
That would
So-
allow us to create a calendar for the full year, so we know, when Western Welcome Week needs its information,
And-
so we could really get ahead of things. It's true.
And it might be a nice thing that, in time, we do walking tours and we invite other historical districts, and just them.
Yeah,
to
that's a
the
good
tours and
idea.
nobody else.
Oh, that's a
you
great
know,
idea.
We do
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
So why don't we do a little bit, I definitely will, run that
Okay.
Okay.
part
Great.
of it, if anybody wants to work with me on it.
I'll help you with that.
Okay.
Great.
Then
I
we
can see
can,
having other historic districts come to town hall maybe and do a program of some sort.
Yeah.
Plus a walking tour.
yeah, because that's sort of what, that's a good idea too. We could certainly do that.
Use town hall a couple times.
Have
They
you-
again are heavily booked, so you have to really,
Yeah, right, do
Yeah.
it during, in between the plays. Well, they usually take the summer off,
yeah, they do take the summer.
so we could do it then.
So
But
to
they
move
have
the
their-
project along, what do you think we can
But you know what?
get done by
I'm
like
gonna,
next
well, I
meeting?
don't want to get anything done. I want to go on the tours. So let me
So you're gonna do
start-
research?
Yeah, let me start doing some research. Kim, maybe we can go to a tour together, or if not, you can go to one, I'll go to another, whatever our schedules allow. And then, because there's plenty around this area, I know that. And then let me talk to Sean up at Byers Evans and see what he has to say. And, just let me have some time to pull all that together and do
Can
some
you
of that.
look and see what, about Western Welcome Week, if they would even entertain the idea of us doing it next year? Not probably this year.
Oh, yeah, who do you,
I'll do that. Yeah,
Okay.
I know
all right, thank you.
whoever she is over there. Yeah, she's very nice. She's in
Cities
my
have,
Rolodex.
have self-guided tours. too.
There we go. You're better.
Yeah, my contact us. It'll come back to me.
And then who do you, let's say Western Welcome Week is not an option. Who do you contact to see availability of dates for, again, 2017?
I'll look to see who I called last time. Margie gave me the woman's name, and I
There's a
got in touch with her.
Marketing person with the city, and I don't remember her name right now.
Yeah,
either.
she was a scheduler for it.
She keeps
Yeah.
their calendar and so forth.
Yep, she does that.
So
Yeah, I can get that
who's
for you.
going to contact her?
Well,
Just, okay, so Sharon.
yeah, but we're not doing it this year, so.
Right.
Right.
Do you think it would be possible to do it this year?
Well, they're saying that the Western Welcome Week's already been figured
I think
out.
they probably got
Oh,
their
really?
brochure already. I may be wrong, but
I mean, if we want to do
Past
walking
years.
tours again, just to give people experience, for this year, we can certainly do it in September. I know that we'll have something open in September, so we could certainly do that if anybody would want to be a part of it. It depends on what you want to, I mean, honestly, I'd love to get carried away with this and dress as somebody, on the walking tours, but my husband was so sick, I couldn't do very much last year. I was lucky I got that done. So I could put a lot more energy into it this year than I did last year.
But we couldn't, I don't know, do we have a list of other historic preservation boards? Where we could send out an invite?
We'd certainly get one, absolutely, but
Okay, so
we'll go
maybe
through the
maybe we
CLG
do a
list or something,
September
yeah.
one and
Maybe we could
invite
do it just for.
other
this.
historic boards as another dry run, and if any residents want to come, great. And then look,
Yeah, I would not mix residents with historical preservationists, because what happens is the historical preservationists are gonna ask gazillions
okay.
of questions, and residents are gonna be like, really? So you don't wanna do that, it's hard, it's overwhelming for them. And so I would say, because they definitely know their stuff. So it's definitely, I would separate them, and then we could send out a flyer to the historical preservation members and just invite them and see who would like to come. But we should do that by June.
we want to do that?
I think it would be a great way to develop relationships and resources within other folks in the area that are dealing with.
Okay, so it's kind of a two-pronged approach. First of all, we're going to see about the September, that's just for the preservationists. So then Dennis would have to find out if we have a list, right?
I'll get a list, yeah.
Dennis, and then if you find out that we do have a weekend that we could do it, then we need a flyer.
Right. And I can check for the weekend tomorrow. I'll send her an email. I've just got to look at the email last year, or get it from Margie.
Okay.
Local historians are doing historical tours of Littleton. They're doing them now.
Who is?
Local historians, I know a couple that are doing them, including Tom Noel includes Littleton
Who
on
do
his
they,
tours.
who's on their tours?
Well, Tom Noels are usually History Colorado folks, and it's not a specific tour of Littleton. It'll be the light rail tour of in different historical areas. I have one friend that does tours throughout the metro area. Carl Sandberg is his name. And he always complains that Littleton lacks public restrooms. So I always tell him, good luck, you're not going to get them. But they have folks that come from various groups, like the Ghost Town Club of Colorado, and again, History Colorado, and other just organizations in town that do stuff like that.
Well, I mean, I think our ultimate goal is community awareness and outreach.
Of Historical Preservation Board. It's not really about the tours. It's so that they know we exist, because too
Yeah.
many people didn't know we existed. And that's why we also started doing the booths because before last year we didn't. And so we decided to start doing the booths so we can make people aware that there even is a Historical Preservation Board here.
I think Littleton residents ultimately would be very interested in taking the tours.
Yeah, we thought so too, but we didn't get the response that we thought, so.
How did they sign up? Or how did they?
Well, we had flyers that we sent out, and then we put it online on the Littleton Independent. And then the United Methodist Church put it in their bulletin. And we got 9 people total, and 3 of them were my family. So we really didn't get that many people. And then we had a big sign up as well, so people, driving by, and they were free. So we didn't get what you might think, at least not what I thought we should get to. But, it's, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what we.
All right, so we're thinking about doing one for September. There's a date. At the same time, looking at Western Welcome, if it's possibility this year, or if not next year. And then if it's not, we'll look at other options.
I wouldn't be able to do anything Western Welcome Week. I won't be here that week. I'll be in North Carolina, so
Okay.
I wouldn't be able to help with that at all.
That'd be too much.
And it sounds like we're,
Okay, so
I mean,
not.
'cause I think you're gonna.
I'll check on it anyway, just so
See
we
what they
know
think.
with the time
They,
frame.
they have a whole huge committee, and I'm sure that they have
If
their
not,
way they do stuff.
at least put our name in for next
Yeah.
year.
But are they doing stuff downtown on like the Monday and Tuesday? I mean,
They do it all week.
I know,
stuff
but they
all week.
spread across
It's
Littleton.
everywhere, right. Some of the events are here, other events
I have
are
a hard
other
time
places,
understanding
yeah.
why tours conflict with a lot of things. I get the art walks and
I don't think
block
they
parties and
would.
that type of
Yeah.
thing, but
I don't know what my schedule is like. I'm typically gone during Western Welcome Week myself, but if I'm in town, and I would be happy to help if it's possible to arrange it for this year.
I think we're rushing it. It sounds to me that we are if we do it at Western Welcome Week this year. Western Welcome Week is such a busy time, and I'm not going to be here, and I wrote the script, and, I mean, I just think it's a lot to throw to someone else. If they want it, of course, I'm happy to hand it over and give you all the resources, but, someone needs to be willing to take that on and spend hours with it, because it takes a long time to pull all that together.
Well, why don't we see if it's even an
I'll
option?
check on it.
If you'd let Dennis know, and he can email me, you need 2 people, right?
That-
So if you can let us know, have to abide by the rules, then we'll, okay.
Because also realize that when you're walking along and you're telling people things, some of them don't just sit there and take your script.
Right.
They ask you other questions too, and they want, they want to be involved or whatever. And so if you're really just reading it as you walk along, that's not going to be what we're trying to present to people. And so we want to make sure that what is presented in a good way.
Okay. All right, anything else about the walking tours or your wonderful conference you went to?
Well, as far as the, connecting with some of the other localities around Colorado, the people who attend the Jefferson County Symposium probably all know Dennis Dempsey, and he's the guy who put it on. So he's be a great contact. He's the planner and historical commission liaison, planning and zoning division in Jefferson County. So
You'd have all the names.
he'd have all those names, so it wouldn't,
All the names
certainly
of
wouldn't
what?
hurt. And obviously, those people attend
historic.
symposiums and would love to.
Oh, like
If we did something down here like that, I'm sure that
Would
we'd
they
get.
share a list?
Oh, I'm sure.
Oh, I'm sure
yeah.
they would.
I'll get a hold of him.
Most of theirs were all mostly Jefferson
Lot of
County,
Jefferson.
so if we could get Douglas County's people. That would also be a nice thing too, to invite them as well, so, yeah. But they do it every year, Jefferson County does, and so I think
About
people-
the same date, around the 1st of May.
They do tours?
They do that.
No.
Last
Oh,
year
that's
was up
together.
at the Betcher Mansion, and then we toured that little area near the mansion
There's a
on Lookout Mountain.
different location every time,
But something in Jeffco
but it's
every
over
year.
Jefferson.
Cool, very cool. All right, well, I think we've got a plan for that. Everybody know what they're working on for that. So anyhow, the next thing is, one of the things on our work plan is to have a meeting with city council. We try to do it, what, twice a year? And I didn't know what options we were for meetings, how long we have, and what we wanted to talk about. So do you know what options we have for city council?
Typically, it's like an hour.
Uh-huh.
That's given over. Their study sessions fill up quickly, and so it's one of those things we have to get out in advance. And planning board just met with them, and what they met with them was the priorities in terms of what city council thought the priorities for the board should be going forward in terms of what plans they should be looking at. So they had that discussion. So it's really kind of looking at your work program, seeing what you're trying to accomplish, see what you have accomplished, and getting city council support and direction for what you're looking at. So in the past, we've taken the work program to them. We've talked about the outreach that you were doing to try and encourage more property owners to come into the Main Street Historic District. You certainly could do an update on that, because we have gotten additional property owners in since we last met with council. And I think anything else in terms of letting them know you're looking at other landmarks, because last time we met with them, they seemed to be very supportive of that. So I think it's what the board is thinking you want to move forward on, what your priorities are, and then checking with council in terms of additional direction and getting their support for it. It could be an update on the design guidelines for Louthan.
yeah.
It could be an update on the survey, because they're very well tuned into those two things, particularly the survey, because they're looking at doing a corridor plan for Littleton Boulevard and looking at the survey that we're doing as a background information, as part of that, getting the information in advance, doing the due diligence in terms of what's out there. So as we do a plan, we have a sense of which areas should be preserved, which areas might be redeveloped, which are significant. So it's good background information as we go forward with the planning. So I think updates on those two things. So we'll have the design guidelines done in 1st of July, and it'll be a year before we actually have the survey, but I think an update on that would be helpful. So, and anything else that the board thinks is interesting and you'd like some direction on?
Other things that we would want to highlight, I'd like to highlight something that we are directly responsible for. I mean, the corridor is something that's important, and we participate, but we're not leading the charge.
Right.
We're more leading the charge on incurring membership in the organization, in the historic district, and the landmarks. So what other things might we want to showcase to them? I mean, and that brings up a point. Last year, and maybe more so the year before, we're really focused on getting more participants in the district. We spent a lot of times on incentives and these kinds of things. And then we just made that as one of our ongoing projects and didn't focus on it exclusively. And we really haven't come up with a goal, so to speak, of this year, or an area of focus. And maybe it's outreach. Maybe that's our focus, is education and awareness of historic preservation through the block party and Western Welcome Week and the walking tours and the landmarks and the letters. So maybe that's our theme for the year.
Yeah, it seems
Well, it
to-
sounds like we need to do more of it, so.
Well, outreach
Continue
has
the
not
theme.
been the focus, I don't think, ever.
Yeah, I
And
think that was
so-
new. since
Right,
last
it's a
year.
new one from
Yeah.
last year, so I think,
As you said, that's kind of our charge, outreach. So
because otherwise, yeah, I think the more outreach we can do, the more excited you can make the community about history, rather than seeming like it's pretty flat and don't do much. So I think outreach would be a good,
Well, and another thing is, and we'll talk about it later, is the Hoodlum meetings. I think we should get a broader range of participation from all of us to go,
To the Littleton
yeah.
retailers.
And I actually brought a sign-up sheet, so that Michael, it's not all in Michael to,
But at least at least we started going.
yes,
You know, we
yeah.
just started outreach
Huge.
last year. It was just
Absolutely.
a start.
And having Michael there consistently has been fantastic. It really is,
Yeah.
to build those relationships.
Yeah.
So maybe that's our theme, and that we talk about it, and then we talk about these 4 key projects. You know, like a 5-minute update, and then they always have questions, and they always have their time where there's things they want us to work on.
Right.
And sometimes there's,
Well, they wanted us to do the alley, remember?
Mm-hmm.
And then they never asked for it. And,
well, then we turn it over, you did all that work, and then we turned it over to planning. So
yeah.
I think,
But it's going to be interesting because the project that's coming in for Jose's is doing a lot on the alley. And so it's going to be an opportunity for you to start thinking about the alley facade, and is that qualify as a facade that is eligible for grants? And also how the design guidelines apply to that. So they're also looking at, it's a double grant that they'd be looking at, one for Main Street, and also they're looking at the economic development grants from the city, kind of looking at placemaking and placemaking along the alley. So the alleys are really, you did a resolution a few years ago in terms of here's what we support, here's what we think. And we've been using that too, just to say, yeah, there is support. And so it is happening slowly. Yeah, so.
traditionally, we have everybody, as many people that want to speak, want to, you know, give a little presentation, so it's not just me or the chair speaking. So, given that we want to talk about the increased participation in Main Street, the landmark, Louthan, and Littleton surveys, and then our outreach theme. For anybody that wants to think about, depending on those, it will kind of depend on when we can meet with city council, because you have to let us know when we get on their calendar.
I'll present on the outreach
Okay.
Okay.
if I'm here in town. Depends on when we're
Okay. How about landmarks? We might see if Margie can do, because she's worked so closely with that. Bet you we can give that to her. And so then we have the encouraging people to attend, be part of Main Street, Louthan Design Guidelines, and the Littleton Survey.
Be glad to do the survey.
Michael knows the survey well. So.
Right, so then we have Louthan Design Guidelines and Main Street.
I'll do Louthan.
Okay.
Great.
And encouraging Main Street, anybody want to do that?
Great.
And then I'll do the kind of the section on, now this is what we're working on, what do you want us to work on? Opening it up to them and getting their feedback. Okay, so Edward's doing Main Street, Landmarks is Margie, David's doing Louthan, Michael's doing the survey, and you're doing outreach.
So what we'll do is we'll put together, here's what the plan, HPB is interested in talking about, send that to the council, and they may have some other ideas in terms of setting the
Okay,
agenda.
and
So,
they-
okay,
then-
it's officially their meeting, so.
Right.
It's kind of the way it works.
And
but-
these
but
have to
they-
be short updates.
And they appreciate this a lot. They really appreciate the board coming forward with ideas.
Are we giving just a little quick blurb on, number of properties added to the district this year? Or however
Right.
many, I mean, it'd just be kind of fun to show that progress. How many COA submissions did we have? I mean, it was,
Not
I think
that
we're gonna
many,
see they were
yeah.
kind of low this year.
Right, they were low this year, absolutely.
And then do we, grant money, we had X amount of people that were interested in it, we issued all of the $50,000 just to show that what happened in the last year.
Do you want to do like stats or something,
Yeah.
Dan?
Yeah,
I'll put you for
good.
stats and you can put the grant money. And I think it's wonderful having, they don't like to hear from just one person, they really like to hear from everyone. And then this way, just make our presentations, 3 minutes, 5 minutes at the most.
But, yeah, probably less.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
If it's 3, it'll be 6. Ed, did you have something?
Well, I was just saying, you'd probably think about this, but I'd say how much money was chasing the actual allocation, right? Because didn't we have, we're
A
well
lot more
over
applications.
50,000.
Exactly, yep.
How many requests versus how much we had in our allocation, right? To just show them that
Right.
Yeah.
there might be a need for greater allocation.
Because it's been 50,000 for a long time.
Do we need a resolution, Pam, at some point to, when we lost the money that we didn't, that wasn't used for Colorado
Yes,
Business Bank,
the bank.
so that we can reallocate those funds instead of going back into the general treasury?
Or at least talk about that in future years? Because
Right.
didn't you say that ship has sailed for
Carryover.
at
Chip is
least
there for that
We
one,
lost
but
that.
it wouldn't
Right,
hurt
but-
to, yeah, to see.
Can we ask them to consider that?
similar situation
Absolutely, you
arises
bet.
in the future?
Consider
Yeah.
that if they
I mean, if we have $100,000 chasing 50, it'd be nice to be able to
Be able to utilize all of it?
money that wasn't used.
Used to go back into your pot for the grants. And
Right, I remember, yeah, you said that.
And then it switched, so
Does the law allow for that?
Yes.
Or, would the- okay.
it does.
Make sure the-
Council policy.
More just a policy, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so given all our outreach and what we're doing, what kind of publicity, I think we should put something in the Littleton report, every issue. And so for the July issue, the due date is June 6th. And it's like June 6th, it's the first week of the month.
And I'm writing an article on that for Jose's. coming
Okay.
Into the district.
Do we
You
want to
want- If you want
say,
to do another one, that'd be great.
so that's publicity. Do we want to say, come visit our booth at the block party, come visit our booth at Western Welcome? Can we do that?
Try it. I'll see if Kelly keeps it in there.
Okay, well, we can try.
Absolutely.
I mean, we could do it like we were talking about. The Preservation Board wants to reach out to the community and get feedback and have you learn
Absolutely.
about what we're
Good,
doing
good.
and come visit us at our booth. You'll see us there. We could talk about the walking tours if we're far enough along, but that may be a July thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think at the booths, we should decorate the booths so they say walking tour, all the things that we're doing. And so that we make it, look pretty active.
Good.
More than we did last year. Last year was a
Belly dancers next.
cover. Yeah.
That's right.
That's hard to compete with.
I think Spratman said he was gonna dance though.
Who was?
Spratman said he'd.
Well, that segues into our next topic, which is the block party and Western Welcome. So the first thing we have to worry about is block party and all those logistical pieces. So Dennis, what do we have? What do we need? And then how do we get it all there?
Okay. What we have, as I recall, is we have a banner that says Historical Preservation Board.
Yes.
Okay?
It's in Dan's car.
Dan's car. Okay, good. Good. Okay, excellent. We can get a table and we can get chairs from the city if we need.
Cover?
Yeah. Cover, I don't think the city has.
Paul Castner.
Paul has
has a tent. We
Paul
can
has a
use.
tent that we've used. That's great.
Do
Okay.
we have a table? You have table and chairs?
We can get a table and chairs, I believe. Yeah.
We
So
need chairs, because last time we didn't have anywhere to, we had
Okay.
2 chairs or 3.
Yeah.
The hardest part, and I know we don't have say-so in this, but last year with the block party, we were right by that band.
right.
And it's almost impossible to talk about historical preservation.
It
Is
is.
there some way we could get into a location that isn't right next to the band?
I'll talk to Corey about
Okay.
that and see if she can give us a little quieter spot.
Yeah, because that was really hard. A lot of
We'll
screaming.
still send.
Yeah, and then people don't want to stay,
Yeah,
it's
and then
too
we
loud.
had, do we have table drape?
I think we do. I think we have that. And then we've got a dog bowl and dog food bowl and water bowl for the dogs.
Okay.
We have a lot of, we've had at least a lot of goodies to give away. I don't know if we do this year or not. I'll find out.
Okay, so giveaways.
Goodies, did you say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Like historic Littleton trivia contest.
oh yeah, that's a good idea.
Oh.
Ah,
Something,
And we've, at work, we've got these huge, sets if you want.
ooh, cool.
Oh, I love giant
Ooh.
chica.
Yeah.
Much fun.
Would that be some sort of like video of somebody?
Because it can fall on your foot and hurt.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, because it's like, you make it really tall. And you pull out the bricks and they fall on you.
And they're like 2x4s.
Yeah.
maybe. I don't know.
Well, maybe we wouldn't make it that high, only give enough bricks to make it this high. Then it's not falling on
You
some little
could
kid.
get questions, like you said, and put them in a fishbowl and have people pull one out. And then if they can answer it, they get a prize. If they don't, they get a piece of chocolate.
Remind me what the date is for the block party?
June 11th,
June 11th, okay.
goes from 6 to 11.
Okay, so I brought a sign-up sheet. So you can sign up for at least, yeah, for times. I only went to 10. I know it goes to 11, but by that time, there's too much booze
Too much
around.
partying.
Yeah, yeah.
Right, so,
What day is it?
It's a
Saturday,
Saturday
the
night, it's
11th.
June 11th, Saturday.
if you want to do it later, but this way we know who's coming. And maybe if you put your cell phone, so if it's 7:10 and you think you're going to be relieved and the person hasn't showed up, they can say, oh, I'm still parking, I'm on my way, or something like that. So if you can just write cell phone. All right, so I think we've got everything for the block party. And then are we going to just duplicate it for Weston Welcome Week?
I think so,
Okay.
yeah.
How many, oh, you want 2 for each thing?
Yeah, so you're not by yourself.
So we'll do as many brochures as we have, bring out the brochures, bring out little reports, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, brochures. Also, can you do more than 2 chairs, like last time?
Oh, sure.
Sharon's husband was there, my
Sure.
husband's there, whoever spouse might want to sit.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, good. And then we'll just do the same thing for Western Welcome. I'll do a sign-up sheet when we get closer. DAR plaque, I think, Sharon, you did a presentation.
Yeah, so what I did, I'm just going to make it easy, because we all just got this tonight, so I'm just going to read it. It'd be a lot easier if we go over. These are the buildings that I felt would make the most sense to receive a plaque from the Daughters of the American Revolution, mostly because they're the older buildings. So First National Bank of Littleton, as corner of Main and Nevada, main investor is Lilly. Several residents were instrumental in organizing the bank: William Schellebarger, Abraham Howarth, Casper Brummel, and Sam Fraser, to name a few. The bank opened in 1906. In November of 1915, a terrible auto train wreck occurred in Denver at the train crossing near West Mexico and Cherokee Streets. The driver of the car, Bank Vice President William Schellebarger, and Mrs. Catherine Brummel, Mrs. Schellebarger, and Mary Brummel all died. The bank was robbed in broad daylight in 1927. 3 men stole $52,666 in cash and Liberty bonds. 1 robber was later found in Texas. All 3 were eventually apprehended and sent to prison. During the Depression, hundreds of banks in every state closed their doors. Littleton was not immune to economic troubles, and on January 12, 1933, the First National Bank of Littleton failed. I'm just trying to give you a little history to see what you feel about the building itself. J.D. Hill General Store, built 1872, the first general store and post office. Richard Little was the first postmaster at the Harwood Inn, and J.D. succeeded him, and the post office was located in his general store. Location upstairs was used for the First Methodist Church, as well as the Catholic Church, and Christian Scientist served as town hall when Littleton was first incorporated. Blue Ribbon Stables, owned by Fred Bemis due to his love of horses. Fred used many of his horses he raised for rent from the livery stable. This location is now the Savory Spice Shop. Blue Ribbon Stables, in addition, Fred lived right across the street from that, and it was Fred Bemis who named Santa Fe, Santa Fe. So, yeah, so there's a little bit of history that goes along with that.
What's the name of his favorite horse?
That was Richard's. That was Richard's, not Fred's. Coors Building,
Inside joke.
built in 1905 by Adolph Coors. Originally, there were 5 stores on the ground floor, including a plumbing and hardware business and the Arapahoe Bar, a saloon that sold Coors beer. Upstairs were the offices of the Littleton Club. It was a gentleman's club. 20th century commercial style building with an architectural style not overly ornamented, but still has character and charm that demonstrated growing prosperity. Corinthian cast iron column second story windows framed with brick molding, and the original Coors building sign still remains. For many years, the building held Abe's Cafe. The Bachelet Building is one of my favorites. The building is one of the finest remaining turn-of-the-century structures in downtown Littleton. It is a 20th century commercial style building. Bachelet was friends with Ralph Moody and hired him as a cowhand on his ranch, letting him race his horses. Moody later wrote Bachelet into 2 of his books. Bachelet died in 1912 of blood poisoning as the result of a wound to the head which he suffered in an altercation with 3 local men. Originally, the One Price Cash House Company, a dry good dealer, used as an opera house, a public meeting hall, and at a Democratic rally, Senator Henry Teller and Ed Taylor addressed the voters there. The Bachelet Building is one of the buildings that seems to get missed a lot, and people don't seem to notice it. And when you start looking into the history of it, it's quite intriguing. He only owned it for about 3 years, actually. And then, of course, beautiful town hall, funded by a bond issue and replaced the original town hall purchased by the city in 1898. J.J. Benedict was architect for town hall. Carnegie Library in 1916. Also built and owned the Gallup House Monastery. Architect style is more representative of Gothic revival. Roof is flat and invisible from the street. The triple arched arcade is the dominant feature of the facade and gives the building its Italian Renaissance feel. The Columbine is bound in the 7 bands built within the budget. It housed the town's fire truck as well as the city offices and council chambers. During the Depression era, the residents of Littleton wanted to do something to help to feed the poor. They decided to go jackrabbit hunting at Deer Trail. Anyone who needed food could pick up a bunny inside the Gothic arches of the town hall. That day, the weather was so cold, so the rabbits were well preserved like boards on the concrete floor.
There's a wonderful photo of that in the museum.
Is there?
of the firemen with piles of bunnies.
Oh, I'll have to take a look for that.
Yeah.
Oh, great. So those are my suggestions of which one should receive. And probably just me reading the history, you can tell why I probably picked them. I don't favor town hall only because it gets everything. And I'd really like some other building down on Main Street to be recognized. So that's kind of up to all of us to vote on this.
Sharon, does it have to be on Main Street?
No, it doesn't have to be. They didn't care where it was. They would even be happy to put it at Littleton Cemetery. They just wanted to put something here, but what they did say is that it can bring tourists to your area. And so, because they put it in their registry, in their book, for people that if you're coming to this area, here's the building that they've dedicated. So it is definitely something that, you want representative of Littleton. So it could be on Alamo, it could be Little's house, it could be any of those, it could be the mill, it could be any of that
Could be
as well.
Little's house?
I mean, if the owners allow it, that's the
Right,
thing,
right,
they put it anywhere.
Yeah, okay.
But the owners have to be willing to want that, and they may not, so, yeah.
Good, okay, gotcha.
Do any of the buildings besides Town Hall already have flags?
Not that, Littleton, the National has a landmark.
The First National Bank?
Yes, First National Bank has a landmark. Blue Ribbon Stables doesn't have anything. Blue Ribbon is more of a local knowledge, but it does have really cute, if you look on the side of it, it's got its sign with the horseshoes. It says Blue Stables. It's showing you what was there at the time. So it's kind of nice. I favor Three Chimneys because it was J.D. Hill. It was the oldest building, and it's was basically the first postmaster. I mean, it really represents the history of Littleton, and that is why I really like Three Chimneys myself.
What, I like my thought would be have something on the corner or the end as opposed to one in the middle of the block, because it's a little more dominant, the Coors Building. So I like the bank, the chimneys, or Coors Building. But that's just a personal
Yeah,
preference.
I think we should all name our personal preference. That's the best way to do this, I
Is
think.
it limited to one, Sharon?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah, one.
But then, do we have to go and ask them, or we make the suggestion and they take care of it?
I would think
Okay.
so.
So we should make the suggestion to them. So
So
do
you
we-
contact the building owner? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, yeah.
Say I want to put a plaque in your building?
Right, so we could have maybe a first choice and a second choice.
If they say
If
no,
they say no, this is our second choice. Do we wanna
I'm with
put-
you, Sharon. I think the J.D. Hill. It's
I'll
the oldest
go
building and very, very historic,
yeah.
what it did.
And it's
Plus,
already,
it's ecumenical.
and it's in the historical preservation district
Out in the district, yeah.
as well. so it's, you know, good
Do we
in
wanna
that way.
do
It's
a
not
s-
going to get changed.
Right, do we want a second choice, just in case?
I'd say either Coors or the bank.
I agree.
I agree, the corner property.
I would go with Coors if I was going with the second choice.
I like
There's
the
that nice
Coors.
column right there that,
Yeah, which
For the
it
black,
has
but it's also got
the
black
hallmark, it's
for-
got
yeah.
the.
Do you have to do a
put on
motion?
the other side.
No.
Okay, we seem to have a
but we can,
consensus.
so, yeah. It just doesn't, it's not binding because we're not in a regular
So
meeting.
why don't,
It's more a straw
and then do
poll.
you get back to them? or-
I'll call
Okay,
them, yeah.
So you'll call them and tell them the JD building, and then if they contact them and then for some reason they don't want it,
Should
we
we
can
go,
ask.
yeah.
Yeah, I think they may
We'll go-
need some help from us to know who the owner is, to contact who that
Correct.
would be,
Sure.
Dennis, so that you could give them.
And that may be changing. Buildings are for sale, all
Right, it
three,
is
so.
for sale.
But you want to go around a little bit more and get,
Make
because we
sure
had to.
we have everyone.
Make sure we have everyone's opinion. 'Cause
That
I'm not
likes
sure-
the idea.
I'm not sure we heard from David, and I'm not sure.
Okay, so,
and-
it's
and
not
Kim
really
had
a
a
motion, but we're
different
kind
idea.
of looking at JD building is number one and Coors building is number two. It's not set in stone. So Kimberly, is that something you agree with, or do you want to put forth something else?
Well, I would vote for the Coors building because it's
As number
very
one?
nice looking, yes.
Okay.
And it's centrally located, right smack in the middle of the block. And it will pull them into downtown.
What's your second choice?
The Three Chimneys, I guess.
Just in case Coors people say no.
Well, I think
They may
that-
say no, they're private buildings, so they don't have to go along with it. They could say, I don't want a plaque on my building.
But I think that those folks, that Vega Ranch or whatever it is, I think those are the owners of the,
They are, yeah.
so I think that might be kind of easy.
And there may be people that have feelings about the DAR.
Right, who knows?
Coors would have, but they don't know.
Yeah, right.
Right up there.
Okay, David, what are your thoughts?
I agree with Susan. I have no objections, or Sharon with the Three Chimneys and Coors.
Two, okay, Michael?
Same here,
Okay.
Three Chimneys.
I kind of go that way.
Yep, same.
Okay.
Three Chimneys and Coors.
Okay. All right. So we're unanimous on the two. We just put Three Chimneys first. Okay, so let us
Can't
know.
get Coors, let's get Coors Light.
So Dennis, you'll let us know next time.
Yes, I sure will.
About that. Okay. Good, good, good. City of Littleton websites, there was you were working on that and we wanted to update the landmark.
Yeah, if I can get it to come up, I will
The update? Oh,
go
okay.
through. Let's see what happens.
Talk among yourselves for a moment. Or if you have something to talk about.
While we have a second panel, you want me to talk more about the participation on Main Street, not the historic grants, or not the grant program, right? The city council?
No, yeah, it's like the number one.
Yeah,
item.
the top priority on the goal plan.
Yeah, to encourage what we've done. And
Work plan, excuse me.
I don't know if you need a little bit more history about the incentive. You have the list of incentives and how we tried that and,
I have some of that in my
Okay.
big binder, but I'll reach out to Dennis for
yeah.
where I.
And also Michael knows a lot. He
I
worked a lot
lack.
on those incentives. And then what happens is council came back to us. They said, we don't know if the incentives are actually going to encourage participation. And we didn't get a very positive response that because of these incentives, people would opt into the district. So then we went with another tactic, which was more one-on-one conversations. And those were ongoing as opposed to certain deadlines and getting out letters. Yeah, and Dennis.
Don't you guys have a list of questions you use for the treasure hunt?
Oh, okay, so I'm in the way, huh?
Well, we do every year, yeah.
Yeah, could you send me those questions? I'll stick them in the fishbowl.
Okay, I'll have to get them. I don't know that I have them, but, yeah.
Okay, I mean, I can
They're
come up
different.
with them
Yeah, they're
myself.
different every year, but I'll have to get them from Liz.
I can come up with them myself if you don't get to it, so don't worry too much. But I just thought if you already had them, I would put them in the fishbowl.
One
Yeah,
thing I
fishbowl's
was,
good. We gotta engage people a little
I
bit.
kind of jumping agenda items. Sometimes Michael can't go to the hoodlum meetings, and I thought it would be good for us all to participate at least once, So I'm going to give this to Michael, and Michael can fill in what he wants because he's been kind of our consistent person. But then we always have a backup, and if you would just let the other person know, like if Michael's not going and I'm his partner for that time, if he would just let me know so I make sure that I go, and vice versa.
When
And
are
then
they?
everybody doesn't have to come to me and say, well, Pam, will you find me an alternate person?
When are they?
They're first Wednesday of each month at Town Hall Arts Center, 8 o'clock in the morning, about an hour.
And I've got this here. And if for some reason that doesn't work for you because of your work schedule, so I'll start with you. And then we can just do that while we're.
So this is the homepage for littletongov.org. A couple ways to get there. Where we're talking about historic preservation.
It's
So under departments, click on that, go to community development. Under community development, you'll see
historical preservation.
We're kind of buried.
I always go up to the top and
Yeah.
pull it down from there.
Okay, oh, thanks. I should know better than that. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, and I don't have it on my screen for some reason, but let's see. And then I did that. How to make this bigger again?
Little plus.
See it?
Drag the window down a little bit.
Well, it should be.
I try to just drag that window down a little bit, might be it.
Okay.
Above. Click on that clear part up above.
Should be up there, yes. And I can't drag the thing down. Okay, right, okay, thanks.
See this mouse?
Ah, excellent. There we go.
There you
Thank you. Perfect, thank you. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so we've got the different categories here. The list, the locally designated. So we've got the landmarks and districts in that category. And then we have, so the historical district plan. Let's see, what do we have here? Click on each of these. So there's the list of districts. We go back. And here's the, go up here a second. So there's Loughton Heights. And way up there. Yeah. Go down. How'd you pull that down, Dave?
Click there at the top and just click and hold and drag it down.
Okay.
There you go.
There you go. Thank you. Okay, cool. Okay. And Main Street. We've got the map. Let me stop clicking on these. Okay. Okay. We'll do a better job of this than I'm
Hold
doing.
them out. Hold it down. The click, hold it down.
Okay. Got the magic touch here. Stubborn. Ah, good. Cool.
Way in the corner.
Way over there. Okay. Okay.
Different screen resolutions there.
It is, yeah, it's the wrong one, unfortunately. So the National Register of Properties and Districts we've got on here too, and we don't have very many of those in the city, but we do have a few. So it's Arapahoe Hills and then individual districts and landmarks. So Geneva Lodge, the house, and the Knightwood House, which is also a local. Those are both local districts or local landmarks. And then the Main Street District. So we have a smaller National Historic District. So there's both a National Historic District and also the local historic district for Main Street. We don't deal with the national much because it's, as with national historic districts everywhere, it's more recognition and more education than it is any kind of regulatory tool that can be used. They don't have design guidelines that are mandatory. They don't have any kind of review process, and they don't have demolition control. Good. And I killed it. This isn't probably in the right place. We have other websites that might be better. Yeah, that might work. Yeah, it's a good idea.
Can you speak to what's happening with the Geneva home right now? Is it empty or?
With Geneva Lodge?
Yeah.
No, they're still in there. I'm not sure when their lease runs out. Their lease will run out at some point. My understanding is the lease on that to the architectural firm entailed them doing the renovation. So they paid for that renovation, which if you have not been in there, it's wonderful.
They paid a bunch.
And they've had that, but I think the lease is running out at some point. I'm not sure if they want to stay and what the city wants to do.
I've heard that they weren't. That's why I was wondering. I thought they had already left.
No, as far as I know, they're still there. Then we have we have our incentive sheet. It's up there.
Way up in the top right corner.
Ah, good, wonderful. And we've got the Main Street Historic District grant is on there, so the application. COA, Main Street sign, so we've got the applications for do a COA. Oh, great. Okay, good, thank you.
They can download it directly from the website then?
Mm-hmm, they can. Sometimes it will do it, you're right, yeah. Yep, I appreciate it. And so we have the others, we have the, we have 3 different types of COAs. We've got the sign COA, we've got the board level COA, and we have a staff level COA. And so we have the applications for all 3 of those on there, as well as the check sheet for the board level one, which is more complex. Yeah, it doesn't at this point. And what I need to do is write an introduction to each one of these categories. I've not done that yet.
So this isn't the done deal?
This is the interim. This is as it is today, and give me feedback, give me thoughts in terms of what you think should be on here, and we'll be adding it, so. But yeah, we definitely need to have some kind of introduction here. Yeah, absolutely. So I think we should do.
And I was gonna say that FAQ, that HLI put together.
Ah, that's a great idea. Yeah, that's a good idea. Okay, we'll do that. And then the application form to be in the district and to be a landmark. So I have all those on there.
About the benefits
We have that on this one, the matrix that had it. This one.
the one with the advantage.
Yeah, that one has the incentives. It's not in text form, so I think the introduction should include that for that category.
Could we include our brochure?
We could include the brochure, absolutely, you bet.
Just another way of saying the same thing.
Sure, no, that's a good idea. Let's see. Okay, then if we go back over here to community, there is here someplace. There's information about history. Do I see it?
What are you looking for?
Looking for history, community history.
I
On
see
here
events
someplace.
calendar, about Littleton.
Yeah. Let's do about Littleton, that's it.
Maybe it's
Maximize your
about
screen.
Littleton. Maybe it's hidden again.
It is a little hidden, unfortunately. Yeah, absolutely.
Littleton history, there you go.
Yeah.
It'd be great to be able to see all that sort of, if you, I mean, 'cause I went on the other day and I typed in, search list,
Ah,
the
okay.
first hit I got was just the board.
Okay, oh, really? Yeah.
And then I had to go down, okay, like I'm trying to find information. So the second hit went to that site that you had right
Okay, we went to, okay.
there. And it's just like, oh, you know, it'd be great to.
To have these
go to
links.
One-stop shop, there's a little more about history. There's a little, you know, I've got a bunch of comments I can.
Oh, good, if you can forward it, that'd be fantastic, absolutely. Yeah. Anybody else, please?
Well,
So-
and we don't have anything about the Historical Preservation Board, like,
We do. So if you go back to city leadership, you've got the boards and commissions. So,
does it tell what we do, what each board does?
a little bit. It's not as much as I think could be on there. So there's a little bit there, and if I go up.
Got like a mission statement up there.
No. I don't think it's there. Let's see. No, that is not the mission statement.
And then do all the board, we go through the board, so people, your contact information, but ours isn't.
Correct.
And is that way throughout, for all boards?
Yes, it is, except for city council. City council has contact information. But this does have, kind of your term and says who you are and what district you live in typically, so. And then it has the meeting schedule. And you can go into the meetings, like, and there are 2 ways to get into the meetings. And let's see, there we go. So there's the meeting for tonight, there's the agenda, and it's all there with the links. So you can go in and see the work plan. Come up. So all that stuff, the information, and you can also, rather than going through here, you can go back. Yeah, you can't see it. I know, it's really tough. And if on my screen were showing it, I'd be doing much better. There we go. Okay. So we go back to this, and if we were to go back to homepage and go to videos, page. So we're going to have each of the boards. It says you're in session now, you're on TV. So there you are live. And there's the agenda for it and information. So,
Pretty good. You can always make tweaks.
oh yeah, and we're going through and we're always working on it, trying to make it more user-friendly, so comments are always helpful. And that's, all the boards, the planning board, licensing, HPP, and council, so.
Can you see past recordings?
Yes, absolutely. So we'll go here, it's in session, but let's see, past recordings. You're in session, how do you do that?
I mean, I don't want to make it hard on you.
No, it's all right. That's
I
good.
think you go to the meetings.
Probably.
That's what I did when I was trying to get.
Okay, let's see if we keep going down. There we go. So archive meetings, And we're right now, we're in council, we want to go to HPB. Okay, so the HPB, here are your meetings, city council's meetings, planning board meetings, licensing, okay? And it has the agenda plus the documents plus the video. So it's all up there. So if you miss a meeting and you've got extra time on your hands and you want to watch it, there it is. It does take a long time. But you can always, fast forward too, which is nice.
Then you miss
Yeah, then you don't know what you missed.
comments, yeah. Okay, so what we came up with is to add the brochure, an introduction to the sections. Then you had some comments you were going to give to Dennis.
Yeah. Great, wonderful, that'd be perfect.
Did we have anything else we wanted to update, changes? Is that it, Dennis?
I think that's it.
Okay. All right. Thank you, that looks good.
But yeah, do play around with it because there's a lot of information in there, not only on our board, but lots of other things are going on as well. So.
The only other thing that, and this is kind of chair board updates, is how are we doing on the historic awards? Or is that project moving forward, or is it?
No,
when is
it hasn't
scheduled?
moved anywhere yet. We have a meeting Wednesday, and I'm hoping to get that
Okay,
going at that point, but I hope we can do it in the fall, but
oh, you're doing the fall, okay.
I think Margie will work with us on it. No, it's not going to be imminent.
And then the hoodlum meetings, we're passing those around, and then we'll send this out to everybody for this and the hoodlum meetings.
Yeah, I'm
whatever.
looking at my calendar to see what
And then one of the things, and I don't know if this is just a suggestion, I don't know if we want to do this or not. Do we want to have that annual report? Remember when, was it at camp, they said, and we have a lot of that information already.
Right.
Do we want to publish something? I mean, that takes effort on our part. Is that something we want to do?
Publish it for who?
For the community. Isn't it a community thing? And maybe we put it on the website, or we say it's available, the Littleton report, we say it's available here. I don't know if we have budget to print.
We do an annual report for CLG. We turn in August every year, and we could certainly base it on that. It's pretty thorough in terms of what the board has been doing and what the issues have been. So it'd be a good thing to base on if you are interested in doing something like that.
Is that something that we could then make more of a community outreach piece, more of a public, maybe not so report-like, but more,
More talky and
just more of a user-friendly piece?
Yeah.
Is that something we want to put our effort into and add to the plan, or is that just too much?
Similar to what we're going to report to the council.
Yeah, but it's more about something we can give to the community in a nutshell. I mean, I don't know if it's worth the effort. Any thoughts? It just was an idea that came out of that camp.
I can certainly run something in the paper if we have when you have a,
I mean, I don't know what this report looks like.
It's fairly technical.
Yeah.
It's not pretty, it's not, we don't, what we could do, I suppose, if we wanted to do more, we could, talk more about the history of the properties that have been designated, the ones that have come into the district, some of the issues we've had, the COAs have come forward and kind of before and afters on the COAs, what's happened with those buildings. So I mean, we could certainly make it more interesting, I think, than the COA.
What about, Dennis, the danger of losing properties that have not been designated, but hopefully might have been?
Yeah.
For example, the IREA building. Could that be incorporated into something like that?
I don't know.
Not a bad.
I mean, I don't know how much,
It's a good question.
I don't know how much interest, if we spent this time and effort putting together this report, is this something that is going to be read, is worth the effort? I don't know.
what if you were to do a lecture kind of thing? We're doing some lecture programming at the museum now. We did one on the Highline Canal last week that was, the room was filled. It's not, it's probably 100 people. It's not.
Yeah, I went to one. You were there, Dan, weren't you? A lot of us were there. We went to one.
Did one a while back on researching your home. I think we need to do that one again, but wonder about, generally, here's what we do.
Yeah, and that would be a format. We could put that out into like a brochure or something that we could put out.
Sonny, do you have guest speakers do that, or do you have board members do that, or members of the
Well,
of
we're
HLI?
guest speakers. I mean, we're just started on this, but we are going to be cooperating with the museum and with the Fine Arts Committee. They want some of them, but trying to do first Thursdays. And this would be on next few are spoken for, but if it were something you wanted to consider, it might be one way to reach some people who would, they do come out for these.
I like that idea. It'd be easy to put in a PDF on the website. Go through that. It takes effort.
It does.
I mean, probably a PowerPoint or some kind of slide lecture with some of these historic buildings would.
And the city's done, what I didn't show you was some of the videos. I should show you those, because they're great. And maybe I'll go back on and actually show them. We might think about doing a video, too, in terms of some of the issues that come up. I think it seems timely. But we've got some great ones on the history of Littleton. One on Woolhurst that they did was fascinating.
Yeah,
In fact,
I remember that
if we have
one.
time, let's watch
You
it.
sent
'cause it's
that
fun.
one out to us.
Oh, did I? Okay, good,
About 2
yeah.
years ago.
Right, exactly, yeah.
Those
Kind
would
of
be fun.
the gambling history of Woolhurst, yeah, the mafia, and all those fun things.
Well, maybe that could be an introduction, or it could be running before the speaker gets up. So I don't get a feeling that either way.
I think I've dealt with annual reports with other organizations, and half the people don't even want to read through them.
I get them in the mail, I don't
Yeah,
read through
I
them.
know.
So just, it's too much.
Another.
What if we narrowed it down to like a one-pager? So it's more of a high-level overview. And it was self-promoting.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think you're doing it more for yourself, though, than you are for anybody that really, I mean, we're having a hard enough time to get an outreach out here to get people
Yeah.
to
Okay,
even
so-
want to know that we exist here.
So do we not want to put that?
Somebody else wants to write it, I don't.
The consensus doesn't seem nobody's stepping up and saying that we really need it. Okay, let's not do that. We want to put the Hoodlum meetings, are those on here?
I think it is, isn't it?
Okay.
Yes.
I think it is, okay. All right, then, do we have any other updates from the board or from staff?
The only thing I had was, which has nothing to do with anything except the Littleton Cemetery. They believe they're part of the historical district, or that they are already a historical landmark.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
They think they're national, maybe? They're not on the national
And
or
I didn't
local?
get to talk to, okay, so here's how I've been able to get to Jose.
Okay, okay.
My sister-in-law is friends with his daughter,
Ah, good,
and have
okay,
been for years. So his daughter is talking to him.
okay,
I
great.
tried calling him, he never responded, so Paula is doing all the talking to him.
Oh, wow.
And he said he's already they're already a historical landmark. And so I said, well, no, not that we're aware of, so Paula went back to him and said, no, well, maybe I'll go to one of the meetings. So that was where it got left. I went over to the cemetery to talk to the caretaker, and he said, good luck with that.
Okay.
So I don't know how well that's going to go over. And, and I have personal people talking to him.
Yeah.
And it's not going anywhere. So I don't know if, they're very difficult. It's like the caretaker told me, he goes, there'll be no website, there'll be no phone number, there'll be nothing. You won't get, it's very difficult to get to them. And it is. It's really odd. So I did put a call in, I left a message, never heard. And so it's just, yeah.
Have you found the names of the other board members?
The other one is Charles Martinez. Charlie is the other one, and he was just as hard, just as difficult. He used to be the president. And yeah, that's all I've gotten. And the caretaker, I said to him, do you have your number? Oh, they're in the yellow pages, they're in the white pages. I tell you, it's like a roadblock. And I told him what we were doing, and he's like, he goes like this at me. And I said, do you have their number? And he goes, it's in the white pages. That was it. And I was actually there doing business for my husband with him. So it wasn't like I was just that came up after I talked to him a little bit. And he was very open about my husband and all that. But when it came to that, everything shut down.
Oh,
Yeah, so I don't know, it's really odd, but, so anyway, I've put it out there, I don't want to do too much, because then we're just going to offend them so much, they won't even want to talk to us, but that's what I've done for them, so. Yeah, I know, trying to find ways to get to them, so, I don't know what that is, I don't know if they just don't really want to be messed or bothered with, or whatever.
Yeah,
Let us know.
Yeah,
and they may be on another list of, I'm thinking, have you seen other plaques there?
there's no
that-
plaques.
Of any
There are
kind,
no plaques. I looked
Okay.
everywhere. I've walked that cemetery,
Okay.
and there is no plaques.
for anybody, for
Not,
any other,
not on the founder's
thinking-
side,
Yeah.
or the newer
Okay.
side, or anything. No,
Okay.
there's no plaques anywhere.
Huh.
I looked mostly on the founder's side, because that's the most historical, and there's nothing.
okay.
So, I don't know. And maybe something happened years ago, and we don't know about it,
Yeah, I don't
and
know.
we didn't realize. So, I don't know if you can dig into old records and see if they ever got named that. I mean, this could have been a long time ago, and we're just not aware of it.
Well, the only thing
Good way to get you to go away.
yeah,
Yeah.
the only thing I've heard is that there were two properties that were put on the register originally without their consent. And they came off, but that is it was the Richard Little house, and then the house that Jose owned on Alamo, they tore down to use for the parking lot. But I don't know if there were other things. I'll ask
Okay.
and just see if they thought the cemetery was on there originally. too.
Right.
It might have been.
Might have been,
Yeah,
might
it's
have thought
possible.
that.
Yeah, maybe.
So anyway, I did what I could with that.
So it's not on the list,
No, but
but
he
not.
they,
thinks it
somehow
is.
they think it is.
Right.
Yeah.
And it could be because they got that mixed, that confused.
Right.
And I know Jose's.
DAR would have any insight on that. They worked with the cemetery a while back and did a kind of grave by grave registry of stuff,
Who did that?
the DAR.
Oh.
Oh, well,
Oh.
see, I'm wondering if they're on their list or something.
Yeah, it
it's
could be
prob-
that
yeah.
they're on something and he doesn't, and that's what he's thinking
Yeah,
of.
right.
Maybe
I
when
don't
you
know if
talk to them.
that still
you ask
exists.
I'll ask them, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, it might
But-
be that,
Okay,
that they're
good.
thinking of.
Mhm. Okay.
I haven't been able to get a hold of Catherine. I think she was traveling till like yesterday to get her to come in and get her
Okay.
certificate. Did we get Kim's orientation all situated?
We're going to meet before the next meeting. So in June, we'll meet.
Okay.
Okay, an hour before. So. And at that same point, we will have updates for all of you for your notebooks. We're updating the notebook for Kim, and we'll update it for everybody else too.
If you're meeting at that time, I could come.
Great, oh, that'd be
Okay,
wonderful. Good,
okay,
perfect.
there were some dates I couldn't, so I
Yeah,
can
that'd
come
be
at
great.
5:30
And Jocelyn
here?
thought that would work well for her too, yeah, absolutely. So,
Okay.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, so 5:30 at,
Here.
all right?
Yep, perfect.
Put that on the calendar. Anything else anybody has to talk about or
Council meeting is not next month, we're still determining,
Right,
share? Yeah, we don't
Correct.
know.
We don't know
when
the
they're
date.
Put on the
available.
agenda.
So
right? We were seven.
Maybe if we too long.
when we
It may be, yeah.
know the date, then we'll kind of put together a logical order with names and we'll submit it to them. They may have some other things, right, that they
Right.
want to put on the list.
Unless they have
change it.
something more important to
They sometimes,
discuss, then
they
they'll tell
sometimes
us they
bump
don't
us,
have
that's right,
time.
exactly, yeah,
They'll make us
exactly.
wait a little bit.
Yeah, yeah,
So we'll
sometimes
see.
something's quite, and they often have agenda items.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else? Not? Go ahead and adjourn? All right,
Good,
we're adjourned.
perfect, good.